Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is helping ensure that Americans understand the full complexity of our nation as he works to remedy the desecrations from previous administrations. So for more, let's go ahead and bring in Will Thibeau. He's the director of the American Military Project at the Claremont Institute. So Will, thanks so much for joining us. There's a story out there, right? There's this famous sculpture. It's Moses Ezekiel. It's going back to Arlington Cemetery. So we see this. Pete Hegseth has made a big deal about this. So what are we going through when we look at all of the things that we're undoing from the Biden administration? What does it say about the guys in charge right now?
Well, right. And we should understand what we have been through. This monument was one of unity and healing for a nation deeply wounded after the Civil War. And it was constructed to bring the former Confederate states and the United States as a union, as they should be, and as it was, and as it still is. But what the Biden regime sought in the previous 5 years was a literal, physical, spiritual destruction of that history, wrinkles and all, to be sure. But I think what it says that Secretary Hegseth wants to restore this monument to Arlington is a belief in the American people and our homeland as not something that can be negotiated or reorganized or rewritten, but a concrete reality of our lives that spans many generations before us, but with the hope that it will continue for many generations after us. And they also understand in the Pentagon and in the White House, certainly, that the military is an inflection point for this national understanding, that the whims and the politics of big changes in our country are at the echelon of the United States military, whether it be at Arlington, whether it be in the ranks of places like West Point or the 75th Ranger Regiment. These are the critical institutions that we must preserve and protect. Secretary Hegseth has taken the absolute right action to restore this very reasonable, beautiful memory of our homeland, and not just some abstract idea of what the liberal establishment wanted us to be, for the past few decades.
We know, Will, that was very eloquent and well said. Of course, I'm also happy at the fact that the good Secretary Hegseth is tweeting my guys, tweeting our boy Bedford out when he was talking about this on X. It was a very good thing. He has great taste in reading, great taste in his choice of articles. We like that. Well, so let's drill into this a little bit, though, because I think it is really important. And you're right, the military is sort of a focal point for this because it represents America. It represents America in a different way than Congress, generally a better way, but it's a low bar. We know we're talking about congressmen on the show today. It's not looking good, it's not looking good over there. So why did they do this? I mean, do you remember this? This is a Lloyd Austin thing, right? I mean, did they say why they had to rip this down?
Well, because ultimately, Matt, it was a monument to the Confederacy. It was a monument to a historical point in time that they didn't want to honor with a statue, as they would so blithely put it too often in 2021, 2022. And they don't want the Confederacy. They don't want people that they view as so backwards and abhorrent by our modern era to have any purchase in the American story. Because I think Lloyd Austin, Joe Biden, too many universities and high schools are trying to tell an American story that is untethered from genuine history. And so if they are to tell this story as they see it, so as President Obama would so often say, the arc of the moral universe supposedly bends towards supposed justice, then they're going to take steps to remedy what they see as injustice. And it's easy to do it at Arlington National Cemetery, right? There's no board that has to approve this. There's no vote of Congress. This can be a unilateral action by the Secretary of Defense and the president at the time to remove monuments. And you'll notice that there was never going to be a mob at Arlington. That was almost too on the nose, I think, for the Biden administration. But they were able to use this mob-like justice of again, this liberal regime to remove the monument without chaos, without explicit chaos that you could put on the news. And so I think for many, unlike us who were kind of tuned into this, for many, it slipped under the radar. But to me, this was as disastrous of a move by the Biden administration than any, mob or riot that tore down statues of Columbus or Junipero Serra. As abhorrent as those were, this was an acknowledgement of unity at a time when it seemed like such unity wasn't possible for the United States of America. And I think it's a realization when Lloyd Austin removed this monument that they didn't want unity. They wanted power and victory for their regime, and that's what they sought. But that's what we're going to stop. That's what Secretary Hegseth is stopping by remedying this wrong today.
They went through, and of course, you said all the lefties, they were trying to take down all the statues all over the country. And they were also, Will, trying to go through and make sure that the military didn't look very cool anymore. And I will tell you, this staff right now in place is trying to make it look good. The Department of Defense just dropped this video earlier this week.
You will feel fatigue. You will feel fear. You will feel happiness. You will feel regret. You will feel sadness. At the end of the day, you will continue to breathe fire. Here's what I tell you to do, and it's almost one of those impossible tasks, but you gotta fight for it every day. You gotta use that operational instinct, and you gotta know what happens before it happens. You gotta stay methodical on the field. You gotta stay clear-headed on the field. You gotta work any resource as required. Kill the enemy, kill the enemy, kill the enemy!
I mean, Will, you can watch that, and then you can see Senator Markwayne Mullin. He put out there on X that the military branch has hit their recruitment targets at least 3 months ahead of schedule. He said morale is high and young American patriots are fired up to serve their country. How big of a difference is this?
Yeah, it's undeniable. So let's unpack that recruitment, story, that reality of the Trump administration's success. Our organization at Claremont found Army internal data that showed the share of white recruits in the winter of 2023 to 2024 was at its lowest ever. In essence, there were fewer and fewer white Americans joining any branch of the military, in particular the Army, than at any point in previous recorded history. But what you also saw happen was the utter failure of the DEI regime's effort to make the military more diverse. Because, and this is, a discussion for a whole other show, perhaps, more diverse populations were not joining the military to make up for the precipitous decline of the share of white recruits. But again, the Biden administration, the Lloyd Austin Pentagon were trying to force diversity metrics, quotas in every division, every unit, every office of the United States military. It shows, though, that this wasn't necessarily some popular trend of opinion that needed to shift back to our side over time. The recruiting crisis of the Biden administration was anti-white discrimination happening as intended, right? There were quotas, again, from any institution to an ROTC program to the Pentagon writ large, that demanded proportional racial representation in every subdivision of an organization in the military. This was catastrophic for the military. We stopped recruiting white men, young white men in particular, who wanted to sign up and serve their country. Because, I'll tell you, Joe, like watching that commercial, that sends goosebumps throughout me. It sends a chill down my spine, because that's why I joined the Army, back in the day. That's why I, woke up so excited to deploy and work, even though, frankly, the causes were, I think, questionable at best. But I was there with my brothers, putting everything on the line so they would be okay and we would be victorious together. I think that is something that is a mission that, harnesses the spirit of any man, any reasonable American man. It's why we want to serve. And then it is the responsibility of political leaders in the Pentagon, elected members of Congress, to properly harness that motivation, that vigor for righteous ends. It is truly an enduring project to do that. But the Biden administration missed that entire equation because they wanted the military to be a tool of social experimentation so it could look like the nation writ large, regardless of the lethal effects that it would have for a more diverse but less ready military that we've seen for too many years before President Trump took his oath of office in January of this year.
Will Thibeau, we're going to have to leave it at that. That was so well said. We ran out of time. We'll definitely have to have you back on because I love actually going through and having a little up, something good, something to make you feel good. Matt, one last comment?
No, I'll leave it at that. I think you're right. I mean, the turnaround is so sudden, it's stark, and it tells us a lot about what the problem was and what the solution is.
Will Thibeau.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll see you again soon. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with your replies to finish out the show right after this.